My mother ate fries, and then she died. People smirk when I say it that way, as if I'm delivering a punchline. They think I'm joking. Some shrug. Others say, well, that's what happens when you live on fried food. But they weren't there. They didn't see the things I saw. They didn't see the fries twitch in her hand. They didn't hear the whispering between her teeth, like an oily choir slipping through her jaw. Every salty stick, a prophet of ruin. No, my mother didn't die from hunger, or from greed, or from weakness. She died because she was brave. Brave enough to eat the enemy. Brave enough to consume an army so vast it spanned beyond our planet. Brave enough to choke down every shrieking fragment of the Fry consciousness, knowing it would sooner break her veins than surrender its greasy dominion. And for this, her courage, her sacrifice, history will forget her, mock her, mislabel her as a victim of cholesterol. But the truth is far stranger, far darker, and far holier. So let me tell you, let me explain how my mother became the martyr of the fries. It started simpler than simple. One brown paper bag, spotted through with grease like old parchment, sagging open on the kitchen table. I was 6 years old. I thought nothing of it. How many times had she come home, laughing, humming off key, carrying some paper bundle from the corner diner? But on that night, the smell thickened the air in a way I'd never smelled before. Sharp, chemical, sugary, like burnt plastic underneath the fried potato. I gagged. She smiled. Just fries, she said, shaking the bag open. Except, swear to you, they moved. Not the shifting of fries settling. No, they twitched. One stick, salt-encrusted, twisted half an inch sideways without her touching it, jerking toward her skin like a pale grub. And maybe I would have convinced myself I imagined it. Except, she reached in and grabbed a handful before they could scuttle away. Her chewing was strange, deliberate, loud, somewhere between eating and struggling. I asked her what was wrong. Her eyes glazed. She whispered, "They don't want me to, but I will." I laughed. I thought she was kidding. But then later that night, I heard it, from her bedroom. Crunch, crunch, the sound of fries chewing back. Days bled together. My mother bought more fries. Brown bags piled in the bin. Our kitchen smelled like an industrial fryer, always hot, always damp, like invisible steam pressed against the wallpaper. And she changed. Not visibly at first, but subtly. The way she paused mid-sentence, tilting her head as if listening to invisible instructions. The way she whispered to herself while frying pan sizzles filled the air. The way grease seemed to pour from her skin. Her handprints stained the counter, oily, even when she hadn't touched food in hours. And the voices. Sometimes at night, I'd hear them through the walls. Not her voice, but several at once, hissing in a language I couldn't understand, layered whispers like paper tearing underwater. Once, I pressed my ear closer. I swear to you, it wasn't her whispering. It was the bag itself. Fries rustling against each other, shifting, vibrating so fast, they made syllables, words, sentences. It was then I learned the first truth. Fries were alive, not potato, not snack food. They were colonizers. She never stopped eating them. Doctors called it addiction. They'd run blood tests. They'd warn her of cholesterol, arterial plaque, the slow squeeze of blood flow. They didn't know half the truth. I watched her feed. Her jaws became automatic pistons. She pulled fries into her mouth by the fistful, slurping handfuls until her knuckles scraped her lips raw. And they wriggled. They fought, twitching between her teeth, bending backward, trying to leap from her mouth. But she chewed harder. She devoured. One day, in delirium, she turned to me and gasped, "They want to live in us. They spread through us. But if I eat them, If my stomach acid dissolves them, they lose. We win. I am the battlefield. Her lips gleamed with grease. Her teeth were webbed with starch. Her arteries pulsed too quickly. My 6-year-old brain didn't understand all her words, but I understood her fear. She wasn't feeding a hunger. She was fighting a war. I stole a fry once, for proof. I planned to take it to school, show my teacher, demand answers. But when I raised the fry in my hand, it twitched so violently I dropped it. It wriggled across the table like a worm, squealing in a sound only I could hear, before it flopped into the sink and disappeared down the drain. I didn't sleep that night. Later, as an adult, I researched classified files. They confirmed my suspicions. Fast food companies had signed covert treaties with the fry entities decades ago. Government officials had grease-laced fingerprints. Boards of directors ended meetings over buckets of the twitching starch. Fries weren't food. They were an occupation. A slow, salt-encrusted occupation, stretching from our plates to the highest levels of world power. And my mother was resisting the only way any one human could. She began to change. Her skin shimmered yellow under lamplight, as though subcutaneous layers of potato sap seeped through. Her breath was hot fryer steam. She laughed in 2 overlapping pitches, one human, one crackling grease. At dinner, she'd cough, and whole fries, half-digested, twitching, would spill from her lips, splattering the table, squealing until she grabbed them back and swallowed them again with horrifying determination. I begged her to stop. She laughed, stroked my head with her greasy hands. If I stop, she whispered, they win. The world around us shifted. Strange riots broke out in cities. Restaurants shuttered, not for economic reasons, but because the frying vats had turned against their owners, writhing with self-awareness. News anchors, wide-eyed and smiling, announced, "Potatoes are good for you," in perfect unison across global broadcasts. Their voices tinged with static. The fry uprising was already in motion. But no one saw it clearly. No one except my mother. They found her collapsed over the sink, mouth rimmed with salt, breath rattling like a broken air vent. At first, I thought she was finished. Her eyes were rolled back, her body twitching with spasms as though invisible cords were jerking her limbs. But she bolted upright again, gasping, defiant, choking out words to whatever was gnawing inside her. "I will not let you take me. I will take you." Her body shook as if dozens of hands were inside her ribcage. Then it stopped. She steadied herself, dripping with sweat and oil that shone under the kitchen light. Her veins were gold. It wasn't her sickness killing her. It was the counterattack. The fries had realized they were losing, and they were trying to turn her into a vessel. From then on, her body became an exhibit of their war. Brown, crisp textures tattooed themselves over her arms, like burns that shimmered when touched by light. She coughed, and once the cough sounded like deep fryer bubbles. At night, her silhouette on the wall would flicker, not matching her body. One shadow showed her still human. Another showed a shape that wasn't human at all, just a sack of boiling oil with teeth churning inside it. I couldn't bear to look, but I couldn't look away. One night I heard something worse, her stomach groaning, not digestion, but conversation. 2 entities speaking through the walls of her intestines. One voice was potato starch squeal. The other was her exhausted whisper. I realized she was fighting them every second, even in her organs. The war was no longer private. It was written in her flesh. The world began to tilt. New bills passed in legislatures. Subsidies for potato monoculture. Tax breaks for fast food empires. Officials lined up at press conferences, smiling too widely, always holding cones of fries in greasy hands. They spread the same message. Fries are fuel. Fries are future. But anyone resisting, anyone who questioned the ubiquity of fried potatoes, vanished. Nutritionists disappeared. Doctors silenced. Even a presidential candidate, who campaigned on reducing processed foods, stumbled live on air as fries crawled from her throat and suffocated her at the podium. The cameras kept filming as anchors clapped, their eyes wide and dead. When I whispered about the truth at school, they laughed. Then, two men in gray suits waited at the corner for hours until I stayed inside, watching, smiling. Their hands were smeared in yellow grease. Something had already replaced our leaders, something otherworldly. And yet we weren't alone. Through the haze of paranoia, I discovered whispers of others like her, eaters, humans who'd recognized the sentience within fries and taken up arms by consuming them, weaponizing their stomach acids in a grotesque war of attrition. Their numbers were small, scattered cells operating beneath freeway overpasses, in cafeteria basements, in abandoned slaughterhouses repurposed with fry grease candles for light. I went with her once, when she was strong enough to walk. The basement hummed, smelled like charred starch and singed hair. Men and women sat in circles with piles of fries that squirmed and squealed softly, like piglets separated from the herd. Each one lifted fistfuls and ate, teeth cracking, tears streaming, blood dripping down their lips, as the fries fought to claw back up their throats. They sang between mouthfuls, hymns like prayers. Eat the eater, chew the chewer. Stomach is salvation. Mother was their leader without ever saying so. They adored her. The woman who could devour more than anyone, who never gagged, who never gave the enemy the dignity of spitting them out. She shone greasy in candlelight, transcendent, a prophet. The more she ate, the thinner the veil became. At night, the sky split, fractures of light across constellations, stars rearranging themselves into night-scrawled runes. She pointed upward with oil-stained fingers, whispering, "The Fry Mind, the Spud Collective. They came before men, seeded this world before language. This planet is a farm. Earth was never ours." And then she said the words that broke me forever. "If we don't eat them, they'll eat reality." I looked up, and I swore the stars blinked in unison, like greasy eyelids. Her body was not hers anymore, though she clung to it. Her fingertips turned crisp, darkening as though perpetually dipped in fryer oil. She avoided touching me, horrified of cracking off pieces. Her pupils grew thin, starch-colored, glowing faintly in shadows. On her worst nights, her stomach swelled as if something inside was pushing to get out. It would ripple, swell, then sink back down, leaving her trembling with exhaustion. But she never begged for help. She simply shoved more fries down her throat, smiling through tears. I began to see her body as both coffin and battlefield, every organ a front line, every morsel of her flesh contaminated by half-consumed enemies. It was unbearable, but it was holy. And then collapse began. Nations declared trade wars over potato futures. Mass protests ignited when mandated fry rations increased. Fry corporations merged into a single monolith, the Grease Combine. With its golden arches glowing across continents, it announced a new doctrine. Every citizen must consume minimum daily fry intake to maintain harmony with starch. The fries were no longer masquerading. Their empire was open. Broadcasts showed shimmering grease forms addressing humanity, their potato faces wrinkled, their voices layered with reverb. Do not resist. Starch unifies all. Salt purifies all. You will eat or you will be eaten. Every channel showed it. Even the static between shows whispered the slogans. Civilizations bent at the knee. But under the noise, under the shimmering tyranny, some saw her face spray-painted onto brick walls, whispered her name in resistant circles, the first Fry Slayer, the Grease Saint. Her heart gave out one night. I sat with her by candlelight. She was trembling, mumbling in the Fry language while swallowing the last twitching sticks from the bag. Then, silence. The room grew hot, unbearably hot. Every surface coated in invisible grease that slicked down the walls. A golden crack tore in the air at the foot of her bed, small at first, then wide, and I saw planets of potato orbiting stars like boiling vats. I saw cities built in fryer oil oceans. I saw avatars of the spud mind towering over galaxies, dragging chains of starch across the cosmos. I screamed. She only smiled. Oil dripped from her eyes. She whispered, "Now it is your war." And then, the crack sealed, and she was gone. Dead. Her arteries had become stone, her body a husk, shimmering faintly with the smell of fried starch. The crisis killed her. The medical examiners wrote heart failure due to dietary excess. But I knew the Frys had fought back. She had simply taken too many into herself, fought too hard, swallowed too many twitching armies until her body had no fight left. She had died so that we might resist. Without her, the tide rose. Cities became grease farms. Fields sprouted potato stalks with human faces growing from them. Fry creatures patrolled the streets, dragging rebels into deep fryers that screamed like furnaces. Broadcasts announced Grease Day festivals where citizens pledged loyalty by plunging their hands into scalding oil. But resistance coalesced. Inspired by her death, small cells gathered. Graffiti bloomed. Fries fall to heat. Eat back. I took her place, younger, untested, but filled with rage. I began eating them, choking down gobs of wriggling fries, feeling them fight like barbed wire in my throat. It burned. It scarred. But it also filled me with visions. Whispers of how to strike, where their hives hid, which corporations were fronts for starch-blooded governors. I became her disciple, the martyr's son, and now, as the world tilts fully into apocalypse, I lead the last resistance cell. We fight beneath ruined cities, cook fires burning greasy effigies of Fry idols, eating what wriggles toward us before it can multiply. Our motto, eat or be eaten. Above us, the skies crackle with golden starch lightning as reality sours under their dominion. But deep down, we know what my mother proved. They are not invincible. They can be consumed. She chewed the first path. I chew the second. And I will not stop until the last fry squeals in my throat, until the last spud star burns, until the greasy empire is nothing but ash salted by our victory. We gathered in the tunnels beneath the city. Those of us left who remembered the old world, whose veins had not yet been replaced with liquid starch, whose minds still could picture a world before potato ruled thought, law, and flesh. They called me by her name, son of the martyr. We wore masks to survive the clouds of grease that hung over the streets, masking the light in sulfur haze. We burned effigies of Fry idols for warmth, and ate fries only when they slithered too near, mustering our courage for each battle in the gut. Some whispered of what would happen when the last fry was devoured, if the world would wake up or dissolve into golden mist. Yet dreams now began to bleed into waking hours. Nobody knew which was real anymore. The sky split open with cracks of phosphorescent starch. Cosmic rings shimmered around the city, a halo of intergalactic fryer oil rippling through space-time. Great potato eyes blinked across the firmament. At night, The stars themselves became fries, wriggling, writhing, spelling out mysteries in Morse code patterns of salt. Time collapsed. Past, future, present, all pressed together like folds in the universe's own paper bag. On Tuesdays, mornings arrived before Friday. Sometimes men aged backwards, speaking the languages of unborn children while eating fries that gnawed at their gums. Broadcasts flickered in and out, sometimes showing us our own deaths in the grease wars, sometimes promising salvation in the mouth of the mother martyr, her blood boiling in a cosmic fryer. We fought, but the battlefield was no longer simple. The streets twisted, leading into wormholes lined with blanching spuds. Enemies took shape as monstrous fry constructs. Towers of fries fused into humanoid form, wielding ketchup lava as weapons. One could not tell friend from foe, for to be touched by a fry was to forget oneself. We learned to resist. Fry eaters fought alongside us, clutching chemical grenades, sculpted from vinegar and salt. We had no guns, only cast iron pans. Our only grenades made from spoiled mayonnaise detonated against fry monsters, splashing streams of unreality. Every victory cost flesh. Sometimes arms crisped, skins sizzling into strange new patterns, half maps of fried potato arteries sprinkled over bone. The world governments, now shells inhabited by greasy specters, deployed armies of spud-infected soldiers chanting in fry code, their eyes blinking in golden intervals. Their tanks rolled on wheels made from super-dense potato. At night, the propaganda drones broadcast messages directly into our dreams. Eat and become, resist and perish. Grease is the only truth. In our darkest hours, we found messages left behind by my mother, carved in the hidden places, written in salt across subway walls, encrypted in the patterns fries left behind as they squirmed to escape. What you eat shapes what's real. Remember me when you chew. Her words gave us strength, even as time collapsed and reality warped. The last great war was not fought just on the streets. We rose up, and the world bent around us, streets folding into spirals of oil, buildings lifting up and curling into the sky, where the potato entities watched and hungered. At one command, we charged. The resistance, human and half-human, frying pans outstretched, greasy hands trembling, voices cracked by fight and faith. We fought in impossible spaces, on the surface of stars made from potato, burning in golden nuclear heat. Inside the minds of the spud gods, climbing ladders of fried neurons, twisting into infinity. Leaping through reality cracks where every new breath might be the last. Time unraveled, battles snaked backward, injuries healed only to be inflicted again. Our numbers folded, multiplied, divided. At one point, I saw my mother, radiant in golden grease, eating fries as fast as the cosmic beings could conjure them, her body flickering between ages and realities. She was the focal point, the axis on which the cosmic fryer turned. Fries spoke as gods, declaring the futility of rebellion, offering worlds made entirely of blissful salt and endless grease. Behind them, I glimpsed what truth they feared, the void, the frying pan beyond all frying pans, a place where no potato ever grew, the total silence that would end their empire. If only someone had the courage to eat enough. We pressed forward. Every time I crushed a fry in my molars, the world twisted, reality bent. At the peak of battle, I faced the Fry King, an entity as large as a galaxy, pulsating with boiling oil, salt crystals orbiting its brow. It offered absolution, to become potato, to surrender to grease, to forget pain. I refused. I remembered my mother. I ate, I chewed. Each fry burned like liquid time on my tongue, rewiring my nerves, blood slick with quantum grease. I swallowed universes of potato, glimpsing dimensions built from endless fields. Each stalk a strand of someone's memory, each harvest a death. The cosmic Fry King screamed, its voice a hurricane of bubbling oil. Its armies fell back. The light dimmed. Reality reset. The sky closed itself. The flesh restored itself, except for the golden plaque around my heart, a warning that I had seen and chewed what no human ought. Now, in silent ruins where the last fry monsters cower, we rebuild. A resistance built not from machines, but from memory and hunger. My story is not unique. Thousands eat, fight, survive by refusing the easy bliss of potato surrender. On blank walls, history now writes another truth. She died as a martyr, misunderstood in her time, but now known to history as a hero who did what was necessary to destroy the greasy tater menace before it destroyed all that was good in the world. The stars above flicker uneasily, some blinking in Morse code, some shimmering, as if freed from the yoke of unseen spud tyrants. The war goes on, but the world knows her name, the first to chew the impossible, to taste sacrifice and spit defiance into the oil-spattered face of eternity.